Canon Films, the home of high-powered, high-voltage motion picture entertainment. With the screen's biggest spectacles, brightest stars, and boldest lineup of explosive entertainment. We're taking motion picture excitement over the edge and your box office over the top. We're Canon Films, and we're dynamite.
So Kid Vengeance is the second Israeli Western that Golan and Globus produced. For people that don't know, Golan and Globus are the two figures that are the face of Canon Films in their Chuck Norris form. Right here, they're still kind of figuring themselves out, trying to see what works. And this was paired up with the other spaghetti Western that they made, which was called God's Gun, which we reviewed a few episodes ago.
And we both kind of like that one.
Yep, we both kind of like God's Gun.
It's not amazing, but it passes the time.
Yeah. And this was the second one that they made. Lee Van Cleef, who also starred in God's Gun, came back for this one, but basically, other than that, they replaced the entire crew except for
Leif Garrett.
And they actually don't even have a Italian director this time, like the first time was God's Gun. They have an American director, a guy named Joseph Manduke, which it sounds like a pseudonym if there ever was one.
Yeah, Manduke? That's not a good name.
Who's probably most famous for making a film called Cornbread, Earl and Me, which is a coming-of-age story, which I remember really liking quite a bit, starring a very, very young Larry Fishburne, a.k.a. Lawrence Fishburne, and then he just directed a bunch of television before, his IMDb says, he became a teacher at the USC School of Cinema and Television, and I could find no information about him other than that.
That's interesting. I have a lot of friends who went to USC. I wonder if they were taught by him.
Who knows? So this movie is, what's the plot, Matthew? This is your, bread and butter.
Well, I gotta be honest. I kind of started tuning this movie out towards the end.
You did? I was so engaged with this film.
Really?
I was, yes.
Maybe I didn't come at it with the right direction. Here's the thing, right? This movie gets off on what I consider to be the wrong foot. Because I think music is so important to Westerns. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
And the thing is that, like, harmonica music in a Western, like the like that type of music in a Western always makes me assume it's going to be boring and bad.
What I'd like to point out that Once Upon a Time in the West has a very prominent harmonica song in it, with a character played by Charles Bronson called Harmonica.
But it's diegetic.
A little bit. Ennio Morricone, not always, not all the time. So you felt that the music starting right off the bat felt really cheap.
Yeah, it feels cheap. It's cheesy. I think harmonica Western music, it's like the laziest, cheapest, there's no epicness to it, which is what I enjoy about Westerns. They always have this, like, the good ones always have a sort of an epic feeling score, while harmonica music is always just like, I don't know, Little House on the Prairie bullshit. Like, who cares?
I'll agree with you. The music, it's pretty cheap. This is a very cheap movie, and it actually kind of has a different feel than most spaghetti westerns, because technically it's not even really a spaghetti western. It's using all the style and thematic concerns of those movies, but it's shot in Israel and doesn't even have an Italian crew working on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really. I mean, if you just watched it offhand, you wouldn't really be like thinking about that. But it's not. Well, I mean, I'm not going to continue to shit on it, right? We'll get to the sort of the
meat and potatoes of that.
as we move on. So basically, the film opens. We have Leif Garrett and his dad, and they're going hunting. And his dad catches a rabbit and bashes his head off a rock or something. To
and
kill
he
it.
actually kills a real rabbit.
Yeah, he does in fact murder a rabbit, which is not pleasant. And Leif Garrett's like, do you ever get used to killing? And his dad's like, killing and hunting are different. I mean, we're not like just leaving this rabbit out to raw. We're gonna eat it and everything. Leif Garrett isn't totally convinced.
And this is something that comes up later on in the film and never really gets answered.
But in the meantime, we have a couple of Jim Brown, who you may know from a bunch of movies.
Yeah, like The Dirty Dozen, Slaughter. I think there's one called like Tick Tock Boom. Anyway, he was a big blaxploitation star, if we use that term. And I read online, I have no knowledge of this, supposedly one of the best football players ever.
Yes, he's famously an ex-football player who went into exploitation movies. Yeah. He's a prospector in this movie, and he's dropping off loads of gold at the bank or something, and then these sort of rubbishy banditos try and like rip him off, right?
We should point out that they're Caucasian banditos.
True, Caucasian banditos.
And they're a bunch of dummies.
And they are dummies. They are so stupid that when they attempt to shoot Jim Brown, they accidentally kill their own boss.
And then Jim Brown just escaped from the movie, not to be seen for about 40 minutes.
Yeah, so you're like, where's this going? But then we're introduced to, the man himself,
Lee Van Cleef.
Now, as described, I love Lee Van Cleef. He's awesome, he's so cool, but not in this movie.
Wait, you don't think that he's cool with that bandana wrapped around his head?
In this movie, Lee Van Cleef is doing, he was a trailblazer. In this movie, he is doing an impression of old Keith Richards way before Johnny Depp will do that in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He looks like he's just stepped off stage in, the modern times as Keith Richards, with the crappy bandana, the rubbishy hair. He just looks terrible in this movie.
You know what? I'm going to make an assertion now that you probably try to fight, but that Lee Van Cleef in this movie is not cool. And I almost feel like that's kind of the point, especially at the ending, because he never does anything cool in the movie.
Please.
Ricardo here is responsible for watering the horses. You can understand his concern. Now, haven't you got anything to say for his kindness? Well, I guess you got your answer, Ricky. When she's ready, she'll drink. You're wondering what we're gonna do to you, aren't you? Aha. A reaction?
Go to hell!
I probably will.
The only coolness you'd associate with his character comes directly from Van Cleef, the actor.
No, don't. Don't do it.
This one, I kind of felt, although Lee Van Cleef is still very charming in the movie, I felt like this one, especially compared to God's Gun, was a real phoned-in job for him.
Eat your food.
I don't want anything from you.
I actually thought he was more alive in this one than he was in God's Gun. Because God's Gun, he's so stiff, and he doesn't seem like he wants to be there. This one, he seems a little bit more animated.
14. Circle around.
Anyway, so, our kid, I can't remember the actor's name. I keep thinking Leif Jonkers, and that's not his name.
Leif Jonkers?
That's the director of Darkness, the vampire movie.
Oh, I shouldn't have laughed at his name. Because he's a real person.
Yeah, he is.
Sorry, Leif.
Leif
we
Garrett.
know you love the show.
Leif Garrett and his family are hanging out, and then Lee Van Cleef shows up, and nastiness happens. Because this is a canon movie, that means that Lee Van Cleef has to take Leif Garrett's mother off to the side and sexually assault her.
Yes, I was thinking again, we managed to dodge sexual assaults for a couple of movies there, right? But this one, nope, straight in there, and it's real, I believe it's called Women in a Refrigerator, right? When you just sort of use...
someone as a trigger to make somebody else do something. Do you know where that comes from?
It's from like a comic book, right?
Yeah, it's Green Lantern. A character kills Green Lantern's girlfriend and then stuffs her in the refrigerator.
Yeah, why does he do...
Anyway, and so Leif Garrett sees his mother being raped.
Yeah, so he's there and he's like really freaking out. He doesn't know what to do about it because it's like... And they will... Later in the film, they will make him remember that and stuff when we see it again. I mean, it's not graphic, but it is horrible. Mm-hmm. You know, like,
It's not done for titillation, which a lot of these movies often
this
do.
is definitely not a titillating sequence, even if you were a disturbing fellow who was titillated by that sort of thing. But it's just a thing that happens, and then when he comes back with her, she kind of goes... Oh, before she comes back, the husband, Leif Garrett's father, sort of sticks a flaming stick into one of the henchmen.
Yeah, and then gets shot for his trouble.
Then gets shot, and then the mother's like, "You bastards!"
And then she gets shot.
And the funny thing is, she gets shot directly in front of Lee Van Cleef. Now, previously in the movie, henchmen killed their own boss by firing wildly, and I was like, that did not make sense. If I was Lee Van Cleef, I would be giving him a stern talking to about it at that point.
About professionalism in the workplace?
Yes, professionalism in the workplace.
So then Lee Van Cleef and his gang grab everything that's at the camp, and which includes Leif Garrett's sister, who was hiding in a wagon car.
Yes, that's true, because she'd hidden the whole time, because I'm sure they would have, like, done the business with her instead of the mother, I suppose.
So they go away, and then the movie starts, which is just Leif Garrett killing everybody for 30 minutes.
Yep, a guy sneaks up on his dead parents and tries to steal stuff off them, so he murders him with a spade.
And we should point out that there is no moral quandary with what Leif Garrett, I assume about a 13, 14-year-old boy, he looks younger, probably 12, is doing in this film. He's just fucking murdering people left and right.
I don't think that's true, Justin. I think this movie is supposed to make us question it because of the whole stuff at the beginning about killing and...
Well, killing's one thing, hunting's another.
Well, I assume Leif Garrett is eating all the bodies that he's killing. Hence, not wasting them.
Yes, at one point he drops a noose over the end of like a cliff, and the baddie's riding by. He gets his head caught in the noose, and he hangs him, right? And then straight afterwards, he has a flashback to the rabbit's head being caught in the noose, and his dad going, "Hunting is different from killing." So at that point I was definitely like, is he eating the bodies? Is that how he's justifying this to himself? He just has a wee nibble after every person he's killed.
So I'm shocked that you didn't like this movie more, Matthew, because you love people killing bad people.
I do love it, but for some reason, this one just psychically bounced off me completely. I just could not get into it. You know?
Because I really got in. I was viewing it as kind of a Home Alone spaghetti western, where the kid's house is the entire desert. Because he's setting traps for these guys, putting snakes in saddlebags, putting scorpions in boots.
Yeah, we noticed that also in this movie, just as in God's Gun, it implies that banditos sleep incredibly heavily. That you can just do anything you want to them. You just sneak on by. Like in the previous one, Lee Van Cleef manages to take all their guns and everything while they're asleep. In this movie, Leif Garrett manages to steal all their stuff and put insects into their boots.
But do you see how they sleep? They just sleep straight up on rocks, and they take their boots off though for some reason.
Maybe the idea is that the only way you can sleep outside is just getting so pish drunk that you just
collapse
sleep through anything. Yeah, and you can use rocks as a pillow. I don't know, something about this just didn't work for me. Because also we have this other plotline going on, right? Which is the sister.
Yeah, who cares about her?
But she tries to escape, which was pretty good. But then Lee Van Cleef captures her again, and they have sort of a bunch of chat about what all the big gross banditos are going to do to her.
And the most valuable possession.
All sorts of possibilities.
He wants to be pretty for his senorita, eh, Lupe?
And why not? I think she likes me already, huh?
Oh, si, amigo. I see our love burns for you.
We're gonna double that within a year, you know.
That's right. And we don't have to share with that partner right there.
And away.
But the weird thing about this whole plot line is that Lee Van Cleef is like very protective of her in a sort of a weird way.
Well, I think that what the movie's trying to show is that Van Cleef, it's weird because he is a bad guy. He raped a woman.
Yes.
But every other indication is that, he's an okay guy. He has a family. He's happy at home.
I can't stand the smell of myself.
There's a river right down over there. You can bathe.
Oh, your friends would just love that.
Will you take this young lady down to the river and see that she's not bothered?
Well, what about him?
Him? He's a gentleman. But you might get lucky.
He also captures people and sells them as slaves. That's the other thing about him.
But don't make a mistake. He's not much different than the others. He'll buy and sell you for a peso.
No, I'll show you what's worth waiting for.
But when he goes back to his village, all the people come out of the village. They're all like, McQuaid,
You're the best, Van Cleef.
He's back, and they love him. And he comes back, and then there's a woman waiting for him, and she's like, get over here and pump me right now. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. That's how beloved he is.
You want me to be.
And at the same time, you're probably wondering, where did Jim Brown go in all this? Well, Jim Brown is a prospector somewhere. He meets a bunch of those dummy guys that shot before. He meets Van Cleef. He gets captured. Finally, he teams up with Leif Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not that much to him. He's just like, Leif Garrett appears and is like, are you one of the baddies? And he's like, I'm tied up. Obviously, I'm no one of the baddies.
I should kill you. Now you're telling me where my sister is right now.
Look, I'm not one of the gang, and I don't know where your sister is.
You know all right.
Look, you gotta believe me. I don't know where she is.
Why should I believe you? You're probably with those outlaws.
Come on, use your head, boy. I'd be tied up like this if I was one of them. Huh?
I don't know.
Then it screams! Ah!
Okay, so back to this movie. There's not really much to it, is there?
No, there really isn't. I mean, like, all that happens is that him and Jim Brown come to the village where Lee Van Cleef is a beloved, nice guy, and they set dynamite. In the same time, you sort of expect there's going to be this fun conflict because the dummies are also coming to steal the gold.
And the dummies just get mowed down.
Yeah, the dummies, there's a good part where one dummy says to the other dummy, he goes, don't step on that duck! I just thought that was sort of random and funny. Because he doesn't step on a duck. But they walk outside and immediately get killed. So there's not like, you know, like sometimes you watch a movie and there's like different characters doing different things at the same time, and you cut interest between them.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen in this movie. They just get rid of those guys, and then it's Jim Brown and Leif Garrett against Lee Van Cleef. Jim Brown dies.
And wait, we use the word versus Lee Van Cleef very broadly in this context because Leif Garrett just shoots an unarmed Lee Van Cleef like 20 times.
Yeah, well, no, Lee Van Cleef's pointing his gun at him as well.
No, I think he has his hands up in the air, doesn't he?
You know what? He might. I was kind of only really half into it at that point. But Lee Van Cleef, basically all he does is he goes, why don't you pal a bit with me? Why don't you let's join together? And then Leif Garrett's like, no, not gonna do that. You fucking killed my dad. And did it with my mom. And then he just pumps him full of bullets, a bunch of bullets. And then at the end, the sort of the whole thematic circle is closed as the wee boy from the village who loved Lee Van Cleef points the gun that must have been Lee Van Cleef's gun at Leif Garrett, and they're both pointing their gun at each other, and they're both greeting, and they're like, you're like, oh, I mean, the way the movie should end is that wee guy should just straight blow away.
Oh, Leif Garrett. Course, that's the thing that would make the most sense in the movie.
But then he doesn't.
If Leif Garrett was blown away by someone else seeking revenge.
But then it doesn't happen. They just sort of put their guns down and they cry. And they're just like, this is what it feels like when doves cry.
Yeah, Leif Garrett does not deserve to survive after that, if that's the point that the movie's trying to make.
Yeah, and it just ends. I mean, I'm really surprised that you thought this one was entertaining.
Of course, man, dude, it's a kid going around killing a bunch of bad guys in random ways. And then you have a cool black gunslinger that shows up throwing dynamite. What is there not
Jim
to
Brown
like?
spends most of the movie tied up.
Well, you got my goal. You might as well set me free.
Set you free. You know I can't do that.
They bring us trouble, no? Just like the blonde girl. Maybe we should kill her too.
But first, Cannon. No.
No canon for this movie.
Nope. All right, recommendations. What do you have to recommend, Matthew?
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about it because we were sort of thinking about movies with kids killing folk in them, and how I'm not generally a fan of. Like, I don't really like. Honestly, I don't really like Home Alone or Home Alone 2. I find them.
Well, no one dies in those movies.
But I mean, like movies where like the kid has the upper hand.
Yeah, why not? Because you hate kids?
Pretty much, I guess.
Huh.
I
I love when kids have the upper hand and do bad things.
Yeah, not into it. So I tried to think of a movie in which that is sort of true, but is not exactly true. It has more to say, and it is 1956's The Bad Seed. Kind of a very well. Is it famous? I mean,
Yeah, it's famous. It's famous.
I feel like it's more sort of cult famous though. Still, yeah. But basically, it's a movie
it's
about
one of
a
those
little
DVDs
girl.
you always run into at like
who-
DVD stores.
the
It's like,
idea is it
an
nature,
old-timey movie that people
or is it
love.
nurture? Is she bad because she was born that way, or is she bad because they just haven't raised her correctly? Because she's very selfish. She essentially kills another little girl and manages to cover up, and then she starts murdering people to cover up the other murders that she's done, and the whole time there's this sort of psychological discussion going on between the adults, sort of trying to work it out, and in the end, obviously, she gets her comeuppance.
She gets her comeuppance in the most hilarious studio-mandated way.
Yes. I believe the ending was not supposed to be...
No, I think she was supposed to get scot-free.
Yes, the original ending of, apparently the novel and the play, I think it is, where she gets away with it, right?
Yeah.
Because the mother dies, the evil child survives, but obviously the movie, code that existed at that time did not allow for, being a baddie, as it were, to pay off. So they were forced to have her die at the end. But it's still a really enjoyable, complete work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I watched it, I didn't even know it was a famous movie when I sat down to watch it years ago. And it just, it's like one of those movies like Night of the Hunter or something that is just so dripping in style and interest that just sort of captivates you from the very beginning, and I love that movie.
Because when I can side with good kids killing bad people, you're more of a fan of bad kids killing good people.
Yes, I guess so. That must be the way it is.
So my recommendation, I was going to recommend at first a spaghetti western, that a blaxploitation spaghetti western. There's one called Take a Hard Ride, which has Lee Van Cleef, Jim Brown, Jim Kelly of Black Belt Jones fame, and Fred Williamson. And it's a great movie. Italian made, tons of fun.
That sounds fantastic. That's an amazing cast.
That's not my official recommendation. My official recommendation is another kids kind of put in danger and forced to do terrible things movie, Cloak and Dagger. Now, Cloak and Dagger is a 1984 film starring Henry Thomas of E.T. fame and Dabney Coleman as his dad. So Henry Thomas plays this kid who his dad doesn't spend enough time with him, his mother passed away, and he just plays video games all the time. I think that he mostly plays role-playing, like pen and paper RPGs. But what happens is he has a friend who has a computer shop, and he plays this RPG role-playing game called Cloak and Dagger. And for some convoluted reason, I don't remember how it goes, the game turns out to be have a secret missile code or something like that a bunch of baddies all end up trying to come up and take away from him. So that sounds kind of boring as a plot synopsis. But what happens is Henry Thomas goes through the fucking ringer. At one point near the end of the film, he has to kill a man with a machine gun. And
Wow.
he's weeping. And the guy's like, "You can't do it, can you?" And he's like, "Oh," and then he has to kill him. And this movie is just great. It's directed by a guy named Richard Franklin, who most famously is from Australia. Or is he from the UK? He's one or the other. He's featured in the Not Quite Hollywood documentary a lot, because he directed a film called Road Games and a film called Patrick. But I think that Cloak and Dagger is probably one of his strongest works, even stronger than Psycho 2, which he also directed. And because he's a big Hitchcock aficionado, the film has this really stylized and controlled look to it all that just works really great in a way that these kind of like family adventure films don't usually work. It also has an ending that is sad in a way that brings tears to my eyes, but when explaining it to someone else makes no sense. And like, so good. Cloak and Dagger, I highly recommend it.
I was Matthew Kumar.
My name's Justin the Clue. Thanks for listening. I keep waiting for you to say it.
Hey, everybody.
In hell.